Right, so in this video I'm going to have a look at the commutative, distributive and associative properties of real numbers. Now we've had a look at these properties before when we had a look at sets, but let me run through each one one by one. So let's start with, let's say, commutative properties here. So the commutative property just means that you can change the order of the real numbers and it doesn't change the result. So for example, if we have let's say 2 plus 3, that'll give us 5. If we take 3 plus 2, that'll also give us 5. So we would say that addition is commutative. Addition is commutative. So you can probably see as well that multiplication is also going to be commutative. If you take 2 times 3, you'll get 6. If you take 3 times 2, you'll also get 6. So addition and multiplication are commutative. Okay, so that's really it when it comes to the commutative property. I won't go into any more detail than that. It's fairly straightforward, I think. Let's have a look at the associative property. So the associative property, this one here, is where you can change the groupings of the numbers and it doesn't change the result. So for example, if you take, we'll take a fairly simple example, let's say 2 plus 3 plus 4, we put a bracket around here, so that means we have to do what's in the brackets first using, you know, BIMDAS or BOMDAS, whatever version you used, BirdMass, there's a number of different versions, but we need to do what's in the brackets here first. So if we look at that, that'll give us 5, if we do what's in the brackets, and then we have our plus 4, so 5 plus 4 is 9. Now if we change the groupings here, if we do 2 plus 3 plus 4 again, and we put the brackets around the 3 and the 4 this time, well, that will give us 4 plus 3, which is 7, and then we take the 7 plus 2, that will also give us 9. So that's the associative property really, and that works for multiplication as well. So if we have 2 times 3 times 4, that will give us 2 3s are 6 times 4, so that gives us 24. If we have 2 times 3 times 4 and we put the brackets around the 3 and the 4, that'll give us 2 times 12, which is also 24. Okay, so now just to do a slightly more detailed example of that, let's say we take 3 root 17 and we take, let's say we'll add 8 and subtract 3 root 17. So what we want to do here is use the two properties we've used already, or I've gone through already, just to simplify this. So let's see what we can do. Well, we see we have a 3 root 17 here, and we have a minus 3 root 17 here. So these will probably cancel each other out, or when we add them we can get 0. So how do we put them together to do that? We have this bracket in the way here, if you like. So let's use the commutative property first. So I'm going to just switch these two around. This is property number 1 that I went through. So if I switch these two around, I'll get 8 plus 3 root 17. And out here I have minus 3 root 17. Okay, so this was our commutative property. Commutative property of addition. Okay, so let's look at what we can do now. Well, looking at the associative property then, the one we've just done, here we can move these brackets. We've got addition and subtraction here, so we can actually move the brackets over here. So we have 8 plus 3 root 17 minus 3 root 17, so we can put these two together now, and this is our associative property. Associative property. So now if we do this, we need to do what's in the brackets first. Remember, if we try to do what's in the brackets up here first, it's going to be quite difficult. But here we've got a plus 3 root 17 minus 3 root 17, so that's just going to give us 0. So we just simply end up with 8. So using the commutative and associative properties here, we can see we made this this sum here fairly easy. Okay, so let's look at the third one then. Okay, so the third one we're going to do is, the distributive property. And to do a fairly simple one, let's say take 2, we'll use 2, 3, 4 again, 2 times 3 plus 4. Now effectively what we're doing here, we could do this a couple of different ways, but we could do it by just doing what's in the bracket, so we could add the 3 and the 4, multiply by 2. But what I want to do here is just look at the distributive property. What we're doing here effectively is distributing multiplication over addition. This 2 here is multiplied by everything in the bracket here. The 2 is stuck to this bracket here, if you like, so it's multiplied by everything inside this bracket. So what we effectively end up doing is multiplying this 2 by this 3 here, and then multiplying this 2 by this 4 here, and adding our solutions. So what we end up doing is multiplying 2 times 3, we multiply the 2 times 4, and we add our 2 results. So 2 times 3 will give us 6, 2 times 4 is 8, so that will give us 14. And you can see here, if you add the 4 and the 3 here, you get 7, 2 times 7 will give us 14 anyway. So that's distributing, we're distributing multiplication over addition here. So that's the distributive property. So let's just do a more detailed version of that. Let's use our surds again. Let's take root 11 minus root 2, and we'll multiply that by root 11 plus root 2. Okay, so now you've done some of this kind of thing when we did the algebra, video. So what we're going to do here, when we do these kind of things, you may remember, is we take each of these and we multiply it by each of these 2 here. So we're going to take the root 11 and we're going to multiply that by this bracket here. So that's times root 11 plus root 2. So you've got to multiply everything in this bracket by everything in this bracket here. So we're taking the root 11 first and we're multiplying it by, effectively what we're doing is multiplying this root 11 by that root 11 and that root 2 there. Now we've also got to do this here. So we take the minus root 2 and we're going to multiply that by these 2 here as well. So let's do that. So that's root 11 plus root 2 as well. So this is effectively what we're going to do here. So let's do that. Now we're using the distributive property here. We're distributing multiplication over addition here, and we're doing multiplication over addition here as well. So root 11 times root 11, that's just simply going to be 11. Remember, root a times root a is just going to be a, or root a squared if you like. The squaring is the opposite to the square root here, so it just cancels it out if you like, and you just end up with the a. Okay, so root 11 times root 11 is 11. Root 2 times root 11 here is plus anyway, so it's root 2 times root 11. Now here we got to multiply these 2. So first of all it's plus times minus, which is minus root 2 times root 11. And here we got minus times plus, which is minus. And again we've got a root 2 times root 2, so that's just simply 2. Okay, so what do we end up with here? Well, if you look at the bit in the middle here, we have a plus root 2 root 11 minus root 2 root 11. They're just going to give me 0. So what are we left with? We're just simply left with 11 minus 2, and that's 9. So this complicated looking thing up here just simplifies to a natural number, 9. So we started with a lot of surds here, and we just ended up, when we multiplied it all out, with a natural number. And that's really it for the 3 properties: associative, distributive and commutative properties of real numbers.